Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I would like to discuss the skills that were mentioned during CitizenCon. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to my latest patron Stu, and to both Morgan Franklin and Simon Wolf for rejoining as a channel member. So during this year's CitizenCon, Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer spoke about the new concept of skills, which first off does not refer to a traditional skill tree system like we see in many MMOs, as this is not the direction for Star Citizen, but more as passive attributes that provide a small percentage buff based on what you are doing most of the time. So basically the way that you play the game will dictate how you increase these attributes, which is done automatically in the background. For example, if you are always delivering and carrying boxes, you might over time be able to lift heavier items as your character becomes stronger. You might be able to carry more in your inventory, or you may just be more resistant to force reactions. Now, when they refer to them as skills, it is very misleading for what they actually are, but they are both intended for Squadron 42 and the Persistent Universe, and they are broken into two areas. We have physical attributes and techniques. Now, for physical attributes, think along the lines of strength, agility, endurance, and fitness. And then for techniques, these are more like takedowns, traversal abilities like mantling and climbing, melee, and hand-to-hand combat. So talking about physical attributes, when it comes to agility, this could be things like being able to swap weapons faster or go to aim down sights quicker. Maybe it would also include mantling things quicker or smoother. For endurance, it could be better environmental resistance, getting more resilient to cold weather the longer that you are exposed to cold weather, like in the real world. Someone living in a cold weather environment will become more tolerant to it. Other endurance benefits could be going longer without sustenance, G-force or readout capabilities increasing. For fitness, this could warrant higher stamina, swimming underwater for longer, sprinting for longer. So many various attributes that you get a very small percentage increase in ability the more that you do this. And when he says leveling up, this isn't by way of a skill tree where you will spend skill points in whatever direction you want to go in. It is more of a passive system working in the background that will automatically increase depending on what you are doing. So the likelihood is, for many players, they won't even notice this is happening. Now, this won't be affecting someone's natural skill or ability. You won't be able to suddenly do 10% more damage or be a better pilot. Experience and learning is always going to be the forerunner of ability in Star Citizen. But what I feel this will mean is more diversity in players. Like in the real world, you get naturally better by doing things, which in turn will provide more reason to work with or hire other players, as some may have more strength or resilience to heat, and you could utilize their trained ability to achieve something that you might have struggled with more. So this means that if you want to be the best bounty hunter and you are good at being the bounty hunter just naturally, or you have learned yourself up to being a good standard of bounty hunter, you could spend time running or improving your endurance so that you can pursue a target for longer, quicker, and likely catch up to them. There could also be two people wearing armor of the same weight, but because you've spent more time improving certain attributes, you'll be able to run slightly quicker or carry more with it affecting you less. Now, techniques are more that you're gaining experience, and for example, the first time you do a takedown, you might be quite sloppy, make quite a bit of noise, and it takes longer to achieve the result, but after a certain amount of doing this, you will get better, and your own animations will change to look smoother and more professional. Now, they say that the same could go for hand-to-hand combat. The more that you fight with your hands or melee weapons like knives, the more professional you will look. They would also like to introduce more moves or martial arts where you could go somewhere and learn from someone, and then your animations for how you fight will change and look more trained. And on a side note, martial arts were actually mentioned in I think a 10 for the Chairman way back many years ago, that you could learn a cool martial art if you found the trainer, kind of adopt their style of animations. Now, they say that the way players will be able to track these passive attributes is through a mobiGlas app, similar to the Fitbit or Apple Watch Health app, that we'll be able to check in on if we wish to see how we are doing. Now, personally, I am really loving the idea of a passive attribute system that provides an extra small percentage here and there based on just what you do the most. I did love this in games like the GTA series, especially San Andreas, and I feel like it will just create a much greater level of diversity and variation between players, allowing us all to nurture certain aspects of our gameplay to be as good as we can. Or you could just completely forget about it, you'll be benefiting from these attributes regardless, and you don't even need to give it a second thought. I do have to admit though, when I first heard Chris Roberts talking about skills, I nearly shat a brick, thinking that they were going to go back on the whole player skills are the key premise of the game, which is one of the biggest selling points of Star Citizen to me personally, but after hearing more about their intentions with it and relating it to that of the GTA system, I'm actually very excited to see this come along. I have always wanted a system like this in Star Citizen, but as there has never been any mention of it, I just assumed it wasn't going to happen. So hearing this is great news. Now, techniques for me, on the other hand, feel like they are bordering slightly closer to the skill system, as it does sound a little bit more intrusive. But I think if these systems are done right, it will just add an additional layer and animation upgrade to the game that will help us to feel more invested in our characters, as they did say that the attributes will be lost upon regeneration. Now, Richard Tyrer did respond on a Twitch channel stating that real skill is still in the player's hands and this attribute system will not be game defining, and getting better at takedowns, for example, will come over time automatically the more that you do it. Jared also did mention that they will be following up on this skill conversation with visuals and a more in-depth discussion as they get closer to revealing this, asking for the benefit of the doubt. So I will personally give them the benefit of the doubt. I am still slightly skeptical about the techniques, as this did sound very similar to a leveling skill upgrade, but I do feel that if it's done right, then it will just give us a new layer to player customization and investment that will hopefully allow us to benefit in time spent. Plus, encourage more of this thoughtful approach to gameplay, as you won't want to lose your character's progression. So I am sold on the physical attribute system, but I'm not 100% convinced about the techniques. Although the idea of your animations looking more polished the more you do it could see me going from something like a mall cop to John Wick over time, which I do like the sound of, but I will certainly need to hear a lot more about it and see this in action just to be reassured that player skill is always going to be the main focal point. But anyway, that was the breakdown of the chat between Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer, talking specifically about the newly announced attribute system. As I say, I am glad that they have decided to do this, but I will be certainly watching it carefully, and it will likely need balancing heavily to ensure that player skill and experience always makes the biggest difference in every aspect of the verse. But with that said, I will continue to cover all of these CitizenCon panels, and I will be breaking up the chat between Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer into smaller, more digestible videos, rather than just one large video, as it allows those interested in specific aspects of that talk to find the recap that they want easier. But if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and hang out with us over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome. We always have a great chat over there, great time hanging out. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members for all their support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.